Before I review this hidden gem, I just want to give a quick shout out to the folks who translated this game so that people like me, and hopefully by the end of this review, you can experience it. They're currently working on the English translation for Kurohyou 2, coming out on January 7th, so definitely looking forward to that. Kurohyou, Ryugagotoku Shinsho, which roughly translates to Black Panther: The New Chapter of Like a Dragon, was released by Sega into Japan on September 2010. The game features a totally new protagonist with a different premise and different characters, but the same setting of Kamurocho. The game never got released internationally for unknown reasons, though considering how Sega treated the Yakuza series around that time, it's probably because they were risk averse and didn't know how to properly market any of the games in the series. But enough about that, let's dive into the review by looking at Kurohyou's plot, gameplay, and also soundtrack, very important aspects of an RPG game. The story revolves around Tatsuya Ukiyo, a street fighting punk kid who ends up being forced to fight in an underground tournament after unknowingly beating a Yakuza to death. He has to win 10 times in a row if he wants his freedom, and after each fight he learns a valuable lesson about himself and/or of the world around him. Tatsuya is a very different protagonist. First off, he's neither a Yakuza, nor a cop, nor a loan shark. He's just some delinquent in the streets who happens to fight very well. He's also not very nice, always looking for a fight and just being an abrasive jerk overall. And it's this kind of difference that makes this game's story refreshingly interesting. Everything Tatsuya experiences throughout the course of the game changes him slowly, making him the only protagonist with major character growth throughout the game, unless you count Majima. Whereas all the other protagonists have their ideals and stick to them through the bitter end, Tatsuya has only realized he's lacked any of those, and is now trying to find his. This gives the story a grittier and much more introspective tone. Tatsuya's whole character arc is rather similar to that of Musashi from the manga Vagabond, with protagonist in his quest to become the strongest, realizes there's more to life than just that, and is trying to understand what he's missing. Also, the cutscenes look really cool. They went for like a different comic book kind of aesthetic, similar to that of Peace Walker, and it works really well for this game. I would rate the plot of this game higher than Kiwami 3, 4, and 5. A mid to high tier plot relative to the series. A simple, deep plot with none of the silly plot twists that the remastered games had. The side characters were pretty good too. I mean, got the evil old mastermind Kuki, the wise fight doctor Taizan, his cute assistant Saki, the loyal homie Tenma, the grizzled detective Takanaka, all the unique people Tatsuya fights, and yeah, the list goes on. That being said though, the plot is not without issues. For starters, the final boss is kind of a pushover. The boss fight before that felt more like a final boss in terms of difficulty and significance, at least to me. Another thing more importantly, chapters 7 and 8 drag out way too much. Too many pointless search missions, like one of them involved searching literally all around Kamurocho just to see what mama meant. Like, wow, who would have thought that mama meant mother? Also, this is more of a warning than a criticism, but there's a telling mission around that point of the story that crashes the game during the instructions. This is even before the mission starts, so I suggest either turning off fast memory if you're using the PSP Emulator, or downloading a save file online through a forum like I did. Thanks, random internet stranger. Now this is a good segue into the next section of this video, the gameplay. I want to start by talking about what really stood out to me about Kurohyou's gameplay, and that's the combat. It feels less like a beat-em-up game and more like a fighting game with each street fight. You start with the basic street brawling style, but over the course of the game you can unlock up to 18 more distinguishable, real-world based fighting styles like boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, wrestling, etc. You choose what style you want before each fight and you can't switch during the fight. So in a sense, there's some customizability since you can choose any style you want to play, and each style was intuitive enough, staying true to the real-world principles of the style they're depicting. Oh, there's also bodily injury in this game, as well as stamina. You can get winded pretty quickly early on. All of this gives the combat in this game a lot of realism. It's hard to get used to at first. It may seem rough and rather hard to get used to, but after a while it becomes very fun and intuitive. One more thing I want to add is that at the end of each fight, if you have enough heat, you can choose what you want to do to the opponent. Either send them off with a warning and get money, offer to recruit them. This one I don't really see the point of, since from my understanding it's only for multiplayer mode. Or, my personal favorite, show no mercy for some of that extra EXP.
No mercy, bitch!
Of course, there are also some issues that I had. First off, grabs are kind of OP. Namely, if you choose to play this in hard mode. So if you get grabbed, there's usually no escape, and the same thing can be said conversely. So definitely work on that spacing if you can. The other issue is the lack of health and heat bars, but honestly, this might not necessarily be a bad thing. Considering the second game didn't add it, it's safe to say that they kept it hidden during combat for added realism. One last thing though, if anyone can figure out how to do this QuickTime event at the beginning, please let me know. The in-game instructions aren't fully translated, at least for me, and there's also no guide online to this. I figured I'd just mash all the buttons, but even then the success rate is still pretty small. All the other aspects remain more or less the same. You spend a lot of time exploring the city with the choice to take on part-time jobs, which are basically this game's mini-games. The mini-games are pretty simplistic and aren't much given that it's an old game that's on the PSP no less. My personal favorites were the strip club bouncer one just because of how silly it is, and also the ice cream one because it really tested your hand-eye coordination. Honestly, for a PSP game, it looks really good, and it's still very much loaded with content, including sub-stories, although those aren't translated yet. That being said, the game has fixed camera angles, so that's definitely a lot getting used to, and also, sometimes, an eyesore. Also, there's a lot of weird clipping, probably because the game uses a lot of backdrops, but that's not a big deal for me, I just find it hilarious. I mean, just look at these ghost cars. Oh, and the city has cops, since Tatsuya is in deep shit, so don't get caught by them. One last negative thing I will have to say is that the fight spawns are kind of annoying. There's a lot of them, and they can just bump into you as you change shots, so you have no choice but to fight them. The fights aren't as quick given how the combat works, so they do take quite a bit of time. Not sure what I can do about it, like is there an item to ward them off, or did I have to recruit the guys I beat when I had the chance and the game didn't tell me? But anywho, despite all that, and despite how old Kurohyou is and how it was designed for the PSP, the game still holds up really well. The pros do outweigh the cons. I'm not going to spend too much time on this section because it'll be pretty straightforward. Long story short, it's great. Short story long, the soundtrack is very diverse. First off, it has a nice mix of different composers, from Hidenori Shoji and Hit Lunch to Skank Funk, aka the down bad meme lord, Hideki Naganuma himself. Every guy Tatsuya fights in the underground arena had their own theme song that perfectly encapsulated their character. Overall, my personal favorite songs in the soundtrack, and the ones you should look out for, are the different songs that play during the street fights, and the theme songs of Tatsuya's second, third, fifth, and final opponent. All things considered, if Yakuza 0 is a 10 out of 10 game, this game is a solid 8 out of 10. It's not just a really good game for a PSP game, but also easily a solid entry in the series. The fact that this game never got localized and Dead Souls did is such wasted potential. Tatsuya could have easily been a mainstay character and could have even repped the series in fighting games. He's a very well written character. Thankfully, this game doesn't have to fade completely into obscurity, because some folks out there loved this game enough to put in massive amounts of effort for an unofficial fan translation. And thanks to them, you can experience the hidden beauty of Kurohyou for free. I'll even provide the links in the description. I highly recommend playing it out for yourself because you really have nothing to lose when trying this game out. Except maybe time if you're just that busy. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video if you made it this far. If this has convinced you to try the game out, or if you've already played this game and my review validates your beliefs, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like button. I've got some Kurohyou content planned for this channel, in addition to more Yakuza, Ace Attorney, and voice acting content, so if you want to see at least one of those, please subscribe. That will also help me out a lot. Alright, that's it for me. Thanks again. Be seeing you.